Well, today is the day, guys. We have had a lot of talk about all this new wet holding issues and wiring and figuring out if everything's going to work. Well, we're about to find out. I've finally got about 18% corn following me. As quick as we can run that through the dryer and take a couple points out so that we're storing more 15, 16%, that's what we're gonna do. So stick with us through this video, guys. We're gonna find out together if everything runs smoothly like we're hoping. All right, now that we've made it to Jipville, there are a few things that I've got to do before I can start filling that wet bin. We filled the wet bin with dry corn in order to build our cone or funnel, as somebody else referred to it. That would probably be a better term for it. So I've got to pull that cone out of the center. All of the grain that's going to form that inverted cone, if you want to call it, is got to be pulled out of there, and I'm actually going to use that to load the dryer. So as far as the electricians go, we were told by them that everything's been ran, they've done all their checks, everything should work the way it's supposed to work. When this dryer gets fired up and calls for corn, instead of kicking that conveyor on to pull from the overhead like we have always done in the past, it's going to kick this jump auger on and that bin unload auger, and everything's going to start pulling out of there into the dryer. So the only thing left to do is to test it with actual corn. They ran it empty and tested it, but they have not ran it with corn. There's our grain. Uh-oh. That's not good. I don't know what just happened, but I literally just opened this half a turn. And obviously I'm not going to do it again because it'll let more grain in. As soon as that grain went into there, I was watching that bearing and that auger stopped turning. I ended up smoking the belts. I'm honestly not sure what to do. Epic failure on trial number 1 and auxiliary motor overload. I'm gonna have to make a phone call. I got no idea what that means. Well, no good news at the moment. I now have 3 wet trucks waiting to go into the wet bin, and I've got no way to pull corn out of that wet bin at the moment. I believe it's electrical. I have not found a mechanical issue binding up the auger. So right now we're all in limbo waiting on the electrician. So we figured our problem out. Electricians were very responsive, which was awesome. He ended up being 10 minutes away, so we swung over here. And that jump auger was wired up backwards, which not their fault. They really didn't realize the gearing and the flight was all opposite. But this auger was trying to feed down while this auger was feeding out. So that doesn't work very well. He ended up sticking around long enough. We got the dryer full, but we have not quite got our cone started. Now Dustin's yelling at me because I'm not calling it a funnel. Everybody's gonna comment and say it's not a cone, it's a funnel. It is a cone. It's a cone of air. And we're just gonna put the rest of our dry corn in that bin. I don't know, it's still running. I see a funnel. Well, when we loaded this with dry corn, I think we way overestimated how much we needed in there. Because we've been running for probably 10 minutes. 10, 12, 13 minutes, I don't know. But we're still pulling grain out. It has not quit running yet. And it's kind of frustrating because we wasted quite a bit of time getting the dryer loaded, which thankfully it was an easy fix. But now we're sitting and waiting for this to unload just to put 18% corn in there when we're not even going to start the dryer yet. We've got all 3 trucks here. And Dad is sitting full waiting on us. So, kind of getting antsy. All right, looks like it has finally ran dry. Theoretically, any wet corn we dump on top of that's automatically going to want to funnel to the center well. All right, well, after about probably an hour and a half fiasco, we're finally dumping fresh corn. And we are not dumping fresh corn. But we're just checking it, making sure it comes into here. All right, we'll call that good. Well, that was quite the fiasco. And my entire load averaged like 16.9 to 17. So if it's that dry, I don't know that I can afford to run it through the dryer. So we'll have to wait. Kyle and Dustin are dumping now. They're gonna get averages on their load too, and we'll go from there. But if I don't end up running that through the dryer, and we just wasted 2 hours doing that, I mean, we were gonna figure out that problem at one point or another. I guess on a day like today when we weren't crazy, running crazy hard, I guess is a good thing. So I can't be too upset. We got 2 different bugs worked out, the loading, and we had one other issue that they looked at while they were there. So they're fixed now, and if we don't have to run the dryer, we don't have to run the dryer. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and leave all of those loads that we just dumped into the wet holding. I'm gonna leave them in there. We're gonna get some air running on them. Blowing a little dust out. If we don't get into any corn that's any wetter and decide not to run the dryer anymore, I can just pull it out and I'll either transfer it into one of the other bins, or those will be the bushes that we store in this bin this year. But if we do start running into some 18, 19% corn again, I'll just realize that I've got some 17% in there and I'll run it through really fast. Either way, I'm not too worried about it right now. Well guys, ever since we switched to the next field, moistures have been running 15, if not drier. 14.5 to 15.5 is absolutely perfect. Those are bushels that you can literally just drop in the pit, straight into the bin, cool them out a little bit, and you're not worried about them at all. However, for you guys, makes it a little boring. We've literally been shelling, loading, dumping, rinse and repeat. So that's how we're gonna finish out the night. But don't worry, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, good morning guys, welcome back. Back here at Jipville because, well, this is where I seem to live nowadays. So this morning, Kyle and Dustin have both dropped a load. This is my first load this morning. And when Dustin got back to the field, he said we had a little bit of an issue. I feel like we've had nothing but issues with Jipville this year. Thankfully though, they have all seemed to be very minor issues that are easily fixed. But today we are filling this bin. So the way all of this works, to fill both of these bins, we come from that downspout into here, and then we've got this slide gate. So when this slide gate is open, stuff just falls right through. But when it's closed and we have this verse loop on, it drags it over, dumps it into that bin. So as you can tell, we've got a slight leak. And it's making a mess down there on the concrete. So right there, that gap is just letting corn trickle out. So I brought up some of this like putty sealant stuff. I'm gonna try and break off a piece and just shove it up in there for now, because this gate will stay open, well, basically until next fall when we load that bin again. So I'm not worried about anything there. This gate's open. I just got to get something to plug that little gap. And I think I'm going to wad it up and just kind of use it as putty right now. Kind of push it up into those gears. And I think that should be enough. I think that's all it's going to take. Alright, now with the concrete completely cleaned off, I'll be able to easily tell if it's still leaking or if what I did fixed it. Well, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon already, and we're getting ready to start another 100-acre field. Mom and Dad are on their way, and well, it's about the perfect time of day to start a new field, because we should easily be able to get this field opened up, all the end rows off before dark. That way, once the sun goes down, we can just keep on trucking, going back and forth and working our way, and we don't have to worry about any tree lines, end rows, or funky business like that. Man, I wish you guys could feel this weather. It's like 60s right now, extremely low humidity, nice cool breeze. I mean, you couldn't ask for better harvest weather. And it's allowing us to cover these acres very quickly. Speak of the devil, there he is. Ooh, that was close with the auger. I just want you to know you were about that close to taking the end of your auger off. Yeah, when it swung into the trees. I'm glad you didn't either.
Hey, good afternoon, folks. Good to be back. I must have done a pretty decent job for Jared. He gave me the camera back, so that's a good sign. Appreciate all the compliments and all of the well wishes, so it was pretty fun. I had a good time doing it. But here we are. We're in a cornfield opening up this afternoon. It's Thursday. Oh, I think the 17th of October. We've been in the field about 3 weeks now, I think, or so. 2 weeks beans, finished up the beans. We've been in corn all this week, so we are starting to get tired, starting to get a little bored, but we get a second wind. We get kind of new energy when we get close to the end. We're in a field here, we're opening up, it's pretty tight. Mostly it's just to stay out of the way until he gets everything opened up, and I've got enough room to maneuver around. See that auger out? I gotta catch him, so I'll be back. I have no idea what's wrong with my windshield wiper, but that's kind of funky. It got flipped around somehow. Could fix that. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's way better. There we go. Now we can get the dust off. Way better. Far more for getting dust off than getting rain off, but I think that's pretty normal. This time of year, usually if I get an extra half a day or if we get a little bit of rain, is when I go clean my garden off and I get everything put away, my tomato cages put up. Haven't had the time to do that yet. We haven't had any rain. Every single day has been just beautiful, so hopefully that means we'll get done with corn sooner and we'll be all done and have lots of time then afterwards to take care of all of our fall chores and details getting ready for winter.
Well, can anybody guess where I'm at? If anyone guessed Jitville, that's where I'm at. I'm currently on top of the big northeast corn bin. And yesterday, we were hauling corn in, you know, driving truck, hauling grain, kind of gets routine. And yesterday morning, I came up behind Kyle, waiting on him, and just as he finished unloading his trailer, I heard this sound of like falling grain hitting the ground, hitting the truck below and whatnot, and I came up and I found this. That's not supposed to be there. So I did a little bit of investigating. I don't know if this is going to show up very well, but right here, this clamp holds this downspout pipe to this deadhead. It's got a flange, both of them have a flange, and the clamp is starting to pop off this part here, and there's holes under here. You probably can't see those. There's holes under here that's allowing this corn to leak out. Kevin and Jared know, and they got a hold of the bin people. They've informed us that to not use this anymore, to not let corn go through this downspout anymore until they get out here to fix this and redo that clamp and make it more secure. That way the possibility of this failing and potentially falling would be horrible and detrimental. Every once in a while we get to do something exciting. There's never, trust me, there's never a dull moment on the farm.
Lots of ears balling up right here. Well guys, I ended up having to come ride with Dad because we're having a little bit of an issue. Yeah, we're late in the day. Stalks are just fluffy dry. So when I try to run the speed I want to run, it just builds up on the head. Everything's fluffy and it won't feed in. It ends up building up on your middle snouts and it just sits there and holds. So eventually you got to get out and push it in. Or just drive slower. And sometimes even that doesn't work. So while I'm sitting here waiting for my truck to get loaded, I figured I'd at least ride with him. That way if he can't get it to feed through, it's a lot quicker for me to jump out and push it in than it is for him to constantly get in and out. And then we turn around and go into the sun and we realize how dirty our windows are. Not sure how well you guys can see us heading into the sun here, but everything was feeding nice. But we've got a big ball right there. And every now and then, Dad can kind of work the snouts back and forth and it feeds through. He's getting it to move, but it's just not moving in the right direction. And then boom, just like that, it disappears. Stalks are just so dry right now. The monitor is literally saying anywhere between 10 and 12%. That's too dry on beans, let alone corn. And it looks like this is one that he's going to have to stop on. It just can't get it to feed through. So like I said, this is where it's quicker for me to jump in and out. Push him up into the head.
guys, I had a great idea, okay? But the guys, of course, were not so excited. In fact, they said, don't encourage me. So I know you will love it, and I think it's awesome. I had an idea for a series of short videos featuring Kyle, the dancing farmhand. I think I was even willing to participate with him. I would do it too. I think we should do a different dance move in each of the videos, and it would be great. It would be funny. I think you guys would love it. So put a note down in the comments if you would like to see Kyle and Jenny as dancing farmhands doing a series of short videos. Or you could follow Jared and be boring and not encourage me in any way.
So Jared had to jump out and move the truck for Jenny. I'm hoping we've got this field where we're having all this issue with the stalks feeding. We've got Route 74 cuts across Indiana is right here. You can see all the traffic. So when that was all built in, according to the landowners, obviously this field got disrupted, I believe. Kind of screwed up the soil and not really sure, but I'm hoping that as we get away from 74 and back into the regular good field, that obviously our stalk quality gets better and we won't have quite as much of an issue. Well, we finally got the sun to go down. That helped being able to see a lot. So getting some more end rows off. Looks like we got the moon coming up tonight. I think it's the harvest moon. So the feeding is getting a little bit better. Get the sun down, maybe a little bit more moisture in the air. Maybe the stalks won't be quite so fluffy. Well, we were fortunate that after the sun went down, it's about 9 o'clock. Stalks toughened up a little bit and running really good right now. We're making pretty good headway. Keeping the guys busy, that's for sure.
Does that just look like little white specks to you guys? Because they're getting pretty far away at this point. But unfortunately, Dad can't video very much when I give him a camera that is pretty much dead. Alright, well that's the last load for me tonight. Dustin's already empty and gone home. I think Kyle's on his way. He should be here anytime. All he's got to do is load. So I'm going to clean up a little bit while I wait on him. I think that's where we're going to end the video, guys. It was a good 2 days and got a couple 100 acres done. And that bin is, well, it's already all but full. I think we've got 2 rings left, so we'll easily top that bin off tomorrow. Did you guys know that the deepest part of the ocean is at the southern end of the Mariana Trench? And it's estimated to be almost 6.8 miles deep. I couldn't even imagine the amount of pressure down there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. And as always, everyone, we will see you in the next one.